Okay, thank you. Thanks to Derek and Morgan for asking me to talk. They didn't warn me, though, that I would be following both Derek and the bug chicks, which is a tall order, no doubt. I'm gonna come back to a more applied use of Twitter. I guess is my role with Alberta Agriculture is as a provincial entomologist. And what I do is I count insects, and therefore you'll know my handle is AB Bug Counter. And our role largely is to help farmers be prepared and react properly to insect outbreaks. So quite a bit different view. So this is actually the real thing that I'm going to talk to you about. I'm not Andy Warren, and I wish I was, because the appellations sound awesome. But I just want to give you a little bit of background so you understand the context in which this came to be. Twitter, to me, was actually kind of a challenge, because when I asked about it, my provincial government said, we don't have a social media policy, so therefore you can't have a Twitter account. And I said, well, that's a really dumb reason, so you know what I did, right? So now I had a Twitter account, but this is a big province that we deal in. We're 1,300 kilometers, which is almost 900 miles from the southernmost fields, which we have to keep track of, to the most northerly. So it's a big place, and we grow a lot of crop, like lots of crop. And we have a lot of people we need to talk to and try to get out to. I told Morgan that we have 10,000 farmers. That's 10,000 of the that make up about 90% of the production. If you go to the census, it's about 43,000. So, by the numbers, we do 7 major insect surveys every year, 7 of them across the province, and we create, in doing those surveys, 5,700. This year we did 5,700 individual data points, so individual field visits to do that. How we do that is we co-opt everybody and anybody that will talk to us. So you're starting to see why Twitter is important. We'll get there in a bit. But I started out, there's one of me, and then I got a technician, and I didn't have any summer students. But now we're up to 6 of us on a summer basis and 2 full-time. So that's the staff that does this work. And we do these surveys: cabbage seed pod weevil, pea leaf weevil, diamondback moth, Bertha armyworm, wheat midge, wheat stem sawfly, and grasshoppers. Those are very structured, targeted surveys that we cover most, if not all, of the province each year. We do a whole bunch of other stuff. That's just because we can. It's not our major focus, though. And I will have to say that there is a large group of people feed this in, right? So my role, and Shelley Barkley, who's my technician, her role is often actually just data management and encouragement. So it actually, if you boil it down, we are very much a social science sort of organization. We are taking advantage of what's going on out there. So we are actually trapping those footprints in the field. Every field has been scouted for insects, weeds, and diseases every year. Several times, most of them. And our philosophy, this is one of our lead philosophies, is to try and capture some of those footprints in the field. Another major thing that we like to do is make it easy. So if it's difficult for you to feed into my network, then you're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. So that's 2 of our major things. Another major thing is that we don't ask a lot of any one person. So if you're going to be part of our group, do what you can, but don't do more than what's comfortable for you. So if you can take your phone out and send us the data on your SweepNet samples for that particular field, and that's all you can do for that one time all year, that's great, we'll take it. Okay? But the interesting thing is, the harder you work for us, the harder we work for you. So we have a very strong push to get give back to those people that help us. So if you are a major contributor to our network and you run into something, we're there. And we will drive to the other end of the province if we have to support you if you get into a jam with an insect. So that's the other thing. And our final, and this is really important, and I think the key to our success is that we work very hard on turning that information around. And I know as a scientist, many of you are going to say, yeah, but you got to make sure it's right. Well, I'd rather be wrong and have people looking in the fields than right and miss the outbreak and have people lose crops. So we have ways of keeping track to make sure the information's right, but we turn things around and we turn around quickly. So we have a major communication plan, and you'll notice that Twitter is one piece, one small piece of that communication plan. I think it's the most dynamic and funnest part, but we do use a whole bunch of things. You notice Facebook's not on there. Facebook for me is personal. If you're my Facebook friend, then you're my friend. It's not part of my work. So, but we don't take one stab at it. We take a whole bunch of stabs at it, and we tie everything together. The center of our universe really is this web page. It's a really rare thing for a government person or a government program, but we have full editorial control of our website. So we change this thing all the time. I should say Shelley changes this thing all the time. I say, Shelley, we really need to put a link up about, and Shelley gets it done. So you notice on there we have a link to how to build a birth armyworm trap. Now, that doesn't seem like it's all that difficult. It really isn't all that difficult, but you would not believe how many questions that solved for us. Because when we send out our set of traps for you to do monitoring for us, there are different ways to put it together, I guess. I didn't know that, but we put it in a video, and we post it up on the web. We have about 300 sites where these traps go out every year. Last year we had over 3,000 hits on the video. So I don't know, that doesn't add up to me, but what we're finding is actually that video is linked to other programs that say, hey, use this as the way to set up your traps. And so they link, so they're trapping for some other moth in some other part of the world, and they link back to this. So it's crazy where it goes. And just to show we're not scared to try different things, we started putting QR codes in all our traps. And when somebody's out looking and they say, well, what is that? And they walk out and there's a QR code, so they can scan the QR code and it takes them to our webpage. Okay, so this is usually the last slide in my presentations, but just to throw that in there, I got all the way through here without telling you my Twitter handle, so if you haven't found me yet, that's me. You notice we use a generic email as well, because for some reason that really catches people's imagination. So Bugs Are Us, we did it actually on a whim just to see if our communication people would let it go through, and so it's there. That's us now. So how we use Twitter. Twitter to us is largely a conversation, okay? And like any conversation, it's not one way. Although we do a lot of push information, we also listen back when we push stuff. So we do push a lot of stuff through our Twitter feed, but it goes both ways. So notifications on what's coming at us. So if we expect that we're going to have an outbreak of something, that is a big part of our Twitter feed. Okay. We get a lot of this, and this is scary, always scary to do. All of us as an entomologist know that what is this? This is a scary thing to put yourself out there, but we do it on purpose, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. We do an awful lot of following along. This morning I was following along a conversation on air seeders and spacing, row spacing. Like, what does that have to do with entomology? Well, what it is what those farmers that are reading my feed are also dealing with that. Like they're amalgamating a lot of stuff. So it helps me keep current and relevant. We do an awful lot of the bottom one of those two. when we're doing a survey, we like to know some of the fields where we're going to ahead of time. We do some random and some targeted, and we often do a call for, we're doing a survey on, and can you give us this kind of field? And you would not believe the feedback we get on this. This really helps fill in some of the gaps. Sometimes we have trouble finding a field of peas in the Red Deer area. So we'll just put it out on Twitter, and the next thing you know, Shelley has fields to go into. I say we. If you follow our program, I do the talking, Shelley does the work. So we do quite a bit of connecting to experts through Twitter, and I know Morgan's been subject to this. We send him the odd fly just because we can. Probably not important, but sometimes they could be. So what we're seeing, what we expect to see, I already said that. And then we do a weekly tweet chat, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So I thought I'd treat you to a world premiere, so trying to keep up to the bug chicks here. But this is hot. This came to us yesterday, and this will be on our website next week, and it will be the subject of a tweet chat coming up probably the first week of December. And so this is the results of one of our survey, and we get it out this time of year so producers can buy the right inputs, the right type of seed to help manage that. This is also hot. It came out just the day we got here, or the day after we got here. So this is showing wheat stem sawfly, and really not a big issue anymore in Alberta, but it's the hot new stuff. So this is a little bit older. This is just, I wanted to show you the sorts of things that our program is using. This is a live map in the summer. So if you're one of my cooperators and you're feeding data into that, it will be live updating that map. And we have code in there that if you put something really wonky in, it kicks it out and sends us an email, say check out Phil's entries because they're not looking quite right. So it's a really fun Google map because you can sort out based on risk levels. And this is a really cool thing. You can still see the Smoky Lake County did that top balloon there. You can see the week-to-week counts. Okay, and we've found this is really integral to our success because Smoky Lake County gets credit for doing that. Okay, they also get blamed when their numbers aren't put in. So it's a double-edged sword, but we find that our cooperators like to get credit for what they do. So the bug chicks showed you a picture of the moths that they're finding. We had an outbreak of that bloody moth, and it wiped out several quarter sections of crop. So it's an army cutworm. But when we had that outbreak, I tweeted out, we are getting problems in fields that had green in them in the fall. And that tweet went crazy on my little network. Well, my little network, I have, not quite 2,000 people right now, but when I added it all up, there's about 20,000 people got access to that, just by me sending it out on Twitter. And that's the kind of thing, when stuff is hot, it's awesome to see it go. I said, why do we bother asking people and encouraging people to send us what is this? Because it's not a government guy that's going to find the next invasive insect in our crops. It's somebody out checking their fields. And I want to foster that relationship so that people will say, well, what the heck? What's going on here? Now, this is a really scary insect for us. It's a little fly that wipes out the canola flowers. It's been found in Saskatchewan now, so we want people to send us their picture saying, I found this little maggot in my canola flowers. What is it? Because we will not be the people that find it. It'll be somebody scouting their fields. Just some examples of the sorts of things we get. This is a fun one because they say, well, this thing gets to be about 3 inches long and in your canola field, and they get quite excited. But they're a lot happier when they find out that it's eating the weeds out of their canola field. So, another red turnip beetle. This is a fun one we had in corn, and the producer was quite excited about it until he realized that they're quite gregarious, and there's one cob that really was being affected. So, We work really hard on pictures, and Shelley Barkley has been working with Alex Wild at Bugshot and stuff. So, because pictures tell stories. Phil told you, tell your story. Well, here's a story in a picture. This is the tachinid fly trying to lay an egg on a birth armyworm. Okay? We sat and watched this go on for 15 minutes in the field. Shelley got this awesome picture. And now I can tell farmers, this is real. This was in your field at Wetaskiwin. Okay? It did lay an egg. There's an egg on the birth armyworm. That egg develops. This is another caterpillar, but there's a breathing hold of that tachinid fly. And eventually, it does this. And guess what? That's a dead caterpillar. That's not eating your crop anymore. So we work really hard on creating this type of imagery and sharing the cool and relevant things to our producers because it changes their thinking. It changes, rather than all insects are bad, they like, well, maybe they're not all bad. And now I'm starting to get feedback to me, like, I don't really want to spray, but I got this because I really don't want to kill my beneficials. So that's, to me, a big measure of we're getting the message out and it's working. Okay, so I have about 2 minutes for Bug Chat. I'm on Bug Chat as kind of the resident expert, which I use that term loosely. Shelley Megariza does the moderating because you can't do both. We tried it, it doesn't work. And we run Bug Chat wherever we are. So I have my laptop and a cellular plan, and we have done Bug Chat everywhere across the province, side of the road, in the middle of a canola field. Sometimes we were actually in our office. So, and it's just a conversation about what's going on. We push what's coming, and we talk, and we take questions, and we answer the best we can, and we shut it off in an hour. It's over and done, and then we move on with our day. But some of the impacts you would not really believe. We get into some really crazy conversations, and they go down all kinds of crazy rabbit holes. But it really does help drive the understanding of what's going on. We learn a lot about what producers are up against, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. Okay, and the fun thing that I think, anybody that's in social media, using social media, especially Twitter, you'll find that there's a lot of lurkers watching your conversation. And we started to really realize this when we started to get media requests for interviews immediately after our talks, our Bug Chats. So we're finding it's really powerful. We find the commodity groups are really following us, and they're retweeting what we're saying to their followers, so helping extend our impact. There's a couple of things I want to say. Twitter is organic to me, like not organic in the sense that it has no chemicals. It's organic in the sense that it is a living, breathing sort of thing. And you have to feed it. You have to care for it. If you ignore your social media feed, it will wither and die. So it's important to do that. Some of the do's and don't do's I wanted to just have a short profile. I don't follow a farmer unless he tells me where he's from. Because when he tweets to me that he has such and such an insect, if he's from Illinois, it doesn't matter. If he's from northern Alberta, I want to know. So engage, be part of the conversation, share a little of yourself, retweet, and be enthused. Like, it's cool. It's a cool place to be. Don't overshare. You can get yourself in a big trouble by going too far. And I'm really aware of not embarrassing my boss and my supervisors because I'll lose this tool. So, and don't use it as a platform to harass and attack people. I mean, we don't need that stuff. So, it's a party line. You don't know who's listening, and I'm good with that. I think that's the real power of Twitter. And I'll leave you with this. This is actually stolen from an article that's coming up on how agriculture is using Twitter. But I really, really believe that it's one of the best tools we've ever seen for extension.